Hey everybody, and welcome back to Dude's Brunch. It's a podcast about pop culture, internet garbage, and black coffee. And we are back for our first episode of 2018. Going around the table, starting off with Tyler Reed. Tyler, what did you have for brunch today?
It's a new year, it's a new me. Quick resolution, try to read more. Thanks, Dungeons & Dragons. Today for brunch, Catherine made pancakes before I had to go into work. But I also, secret extra bonus, I went to a Taco Bell cantina before I got here, and I didn't get blasted on Baja and tequila, but I did have some Taco Bell tapas, and they were okay. Probably be better if I was blasted on tequila Baja Blast.
I don't even like tequila, and that sounds delicious. Sean Evans, welcome back from the new year. What did you have for brunch today?
What did I have today? I just had coffee this morning, actually.
We're back to classic Sean. Just black coffee. No food.
Well, I mean, this morning I just wasn't, last night we went to this Hawaiian restaurant, which was really good, and I got... See, that's what I mean. I had way more exciting food than what I had for breakfast this morning. So this morning I just had black coffee, like I said. But last night I went to this Hawaiian restaurant, and I had Loco Moco, which is burger patties with fried eggs on top, smothered in mushroom gravy, and served with rice on the side. It was delicious.
I'm not into mushrooms, but I respect that as a food order.
It's, you know what, it's when you already have a lot of meat, it really isn't there that much. And I mean, you could probably take it or leave it. But God, that's kind of what I love about Hawaiian food, is that it feels like it's a nice mixture. Like, it's got a little bit of that Asian flavor, but it's so distinctly not. Like Loco Moco, and then Spam Musubi, which is just Spam sushi. So it's like a weird, it's like a fusion of something that's already a fusion.
I didn't know that you were so into Hawaiian food. This is a new thing for me.
There's at some of the craft festivals, there's a Hawaiian truck, like a food truck. So they have Loco Moco and they have Spam Musubi and stuff like that.
Okay. The friends that we went with lived in Hawaii for about a year. And when we came in the restaurant, they said, oh, that's what Hawaiians love to eat. That's one of their staple dishes. So I was like, well, that's it. That's the one.
I'm almost low-key considering at some point, maybe I'll just live in Hawaii. But we'll see. I don't know. That's probably a terrible, terrible idea. I don't know why I said that on the internet publicly, but that's fine.
Hey, man, you just gotta live your best life.
I mean, that's true. I don't really want to probably don't want to live in Japan. Now we can cut that.
Well, I'm your host, Taylor Olmstead, and for brunch this morning, I actually went out for brunch, which I don't usually do. My good friend Brian was in town, and so took him out to one of my favorite brunch places here in Atlanta. We went to Sweet Melissa's over in Decatur, which is a suburb of Atlanta, and they make yogurt pancakes there. So instead of using milk in the pancakes, they use yogurt, so they get really big and thick and fluffy.
Oh, what kind of yogurt do they use? This is a dumb question, but I made pancakes yesterday, and I'm totally in for modding some pancakes out.
I think Greek yogurt, but I'm not entirely sure.
Oh, really?
But the pancakes I had today had cranberries and granola in them, and then they were topped with honey instead of syrup. They were very good.
That sounds so good.
It does sound real good. I should have to try it.
Sarah's parents think that I'm into pancakes, which I am. So they got me the Trader Joe's syrup collection.
How many syrups are in the syrup collection?
4.
You got to tell us now. What are they?
I honestly don't know. I'll have to report back next week.
That's exciting, though. Think about all the different pancakes you can make.
Well, essentially, you make the same pancake. You just have 4 different syrups. It's not really the pancake difference. It's the syrup difference.
But then you got to test different pancakes to, do pairings and...
They're just little bottles. They're maybe, 5 or 6 ounces in each of these little things.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not like a syrup of the month club or something.
Oh, man, maybe that's it. Maybe that's our new business idea. Dude's Brunch Syrup of the Month Club.
Nope, still not giving up on... What was that business venture I had going for a little bit?
Making memories?
Making memories.
Hashtag making
Figures
memories.
that I forgot about making memories.
Hashtag merch in bio.
Did we ever talk about that?
No, I don't think we've ever talked
not.
about that publicly on the podcast.
I think we have, because I remember coming on the show and saying, I had seen something on the internet where somebody had made that same idea.
For the listeners who maybe haven't been listening to the deep cuts, Sean, can you tell them what Making Memories' business plan was?
Making Memories' business plan was to get a bunch of old wine bottles and fart in them and then cap them and then sell them to people so they would open up the bottles in a public place or with their friends or something and have a nice memory of this really terrifyingly awful fart smell that came out of a bottle that they paid money for. Hence, making memories. It was a really bad idea. I don't know how I or anyone else planned to fart into old wine bottles, but
I mean, it's just like,
I can't believe I just explained this to people. That's never.
it's like getting an Uber. It's like Uber for getting punched in the dick.
I mean, at the time of making this up, I think I was all of 16 years old, which would explain why this was probably a great idea. But nowadays, I don't think it would. I don't think the market just doesn't seem there right now, you know?
It was ahead of its time.
Yeah, subscription boxes have really come and gone. I think it's really about building the platform.
Right.
Well, I think we just need to branch out, you know? Maybe we can make some other types of memories, like on-demand, like rotten fish delivery.
Or like I said, an Uber for getting punched in the dick. Why not that?
And, see, at first I thought that was an analogy, an Uber for dick punching, but then I realized that there would be somebody who would drive up to you randomly, like find you on the street, run up to you and just like punch you in the dick, and that's a horrifyingly awful idea. It makes you laugh, but it's not good. Shark Tank. I mean, I don't think I'm gonna have to pass on that one.
I mean, if you could get paid on Shark Tank for like, hey, do you want to add minerals to your water so you can make your coffee taste better? $15, please.
Tyler, have you ever watched Shark Tank? Do you have any idea how the show works?
I'm not kidding. That literally, that was a product that won.
Yeah, but that already exists. You really haven't explored that much in craft beers, have you? Or like home brews.
Do you even know how maps work, Tyler?
I mean, we specifically know that I don't know how maps work, Taylor, and which, therefore, it's no longer like an insult to me. It's really just part of my
personal brand.
Geography clueless. It's fine. It says on my Twitter bio right now. Go look, guys. I'm like, I drank like a whole Baja Blast, and I'm like, just, I don't know. I can't feel my face.
Oh my god.
I haven't had soda in so long. This devil nectar has gotten to me. I can't even.
Speaking of that, do you guys remember Howling Monkey?
No, what was that?
It was like the Four Loko of Coca-Cola.
Is this real?
Like it was I'm sure you can find it if you look it up. I don't think they sell it anymore because I'm pretty sure it was like drinking cigarette butts or something, like caffeinated cigarette butts. But you could go and get it for like 75 cents. And it was like a Coke and with all the caffeine of like 6 Ale-8s.
Okay, I found an article from June of 2008. Howling Monkey
that's
Cola.
probably the last time that you could find one of these.
25% more caffeine than a Coke or a Pepsi.
That was it?
Oh, I do remember this.
This reviewer rates it 8.7 on taste, 8.3 on kick, whatever that means, and 8.5 overall.
Kick is how much it tastes like booze.
This is from a blog that just reviewed energy drinks, which may be the most 2008 thing I've ever heard of.
It wasn't that good. If you wanted to get 25% more caffeine in the same size as a Coke, just go get a Surge.
You're right.
Just drink 2 Mountain Dews.
Just go get a Baja Blast.
Just do some literal cocaine.
And with that, it's time to move on to the creative process.
You're just jealous, Sean. You're jealous because Howling Monkey Cola is so 2008 and you're so 2000 and late.
You're dead to me now.
So we did actually have something to talk about this week. We're not just going to vamp this whole time. I became really fascinated over our 2-week break with an artist named Shantell Martin. I found Shantell through a collaborative video she made with Casey Neistat, and she is getting into the YouTube game now, sharing more stuff about her art there. And we'll link in the show notes to a video that she made with Casey that kind of explains her career in like 3 minutes or less. But basically, Shantell does line drawings, usually with ink pens and Sharpies. And she started out doing live drawing for DJs in Japan. So, like, DJs would play and she would draw along with the music. And she's since branched out into canvases and drawing on walls and buildings and sculptures and all sorts of different stuff. But there were a few things about her that I found really interesting. First is that she makes a really distinct kind of line. And that's her whole thing, is like she wanted to see if she could make something as simple as a line be recognizably hers. And then from there, she talks a lot about like people often say that they can't draw as they get older, but every kid knows how to draw. Like every kid can draw a line. And so she tries to make her art in such a way that like anybody could do this. And like her whole message is, you know, you can think creatively about anything. You've just been told that you aren't a creative person or that you aren't an artist. And that seemed like something cool and interesting for us to talk about on this show as three somewhat creative people. So I sent you guys the video explaining what she does, and I guess let's start off with just getting some reactions from you guys.
I actually really liked it. It was really inspiring. I think the part about where she kind of says like you're told that you're bad is maybe kind of a unspoken staple in some ways of our culture, like this that you have like a natural gift versus having something that you like a skill that you hone over time, like something that takes time to master. Maybe I feel like this because, you know, I grew up in the time of social media where you see like the people that are living the extraordinary life on the beach, or they're like really good at doing their YouTube thing, or blah, 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 blah. Like you just have all these exposures. But I think it was really cool that, you know, she kind of deals with like basic, quote unquote, basic stuff. And turns into something that's really cool, because at first when I saw it, I was like, okay, well, this is kind of like just kind of a line drawing, but you know, it's actually really, really nice. Definitely her style is very cool. I like that it kind of translates well onto anything. What's the guy's name that does kind of drawings similar to that?
I know who you're talking about. Well, we might.
You know, he just did it. He just did a collection with Coach.
We might be talking about the same person.
Charlie Harper.
Probably not.
That's his name, Charlie Harper.
No, that's not the same person.
Just to make Tyler wince there. Everybody who couldn't see it, Tyler's eyes just...
That was definitely the Baja Blast, but don't think that's Charlie Harper, because he's the one that does graphically reduced birds.
Sean knows this. He's just trying to get a rise out of you.
Shit!
And it worked. You walked right into it.
Oh, fuck. You got me.
What did you think, Tyler?
I think some of the things she said really resonated with me. I think mostly in the aspect of kind of like live drawing, where it's sort of like a collaborative experience almost. It has a very different feel drawing live than it does like kind of drawing by yourself. And in some ways, it kind of made me think a little bit about my own work, and because I feel like I've distinctly had moments where I've like been drawing with other people, you know, whether they be artists or not, and just sort of like having fun with it and really enjoyed that sort of experience. And so I think it's a really unique sort of application of art, I guess, where it's sort of like it's kind of about the movement of the work and less about necessarily the work itself, because I mean, like, this is kind of the way it is with all sort of minimal or more simple art, you know, less realistic, less detailed work, that, like, if you look at it, you're like, I could draw that, you know, but at some point you have to get beyond that as, like, a qualifier, because, like, if that's the case, then everyone would draw the exact same thing the exact same way, and it'd be very boring. You have to, like, break out, and so, like, it's interesting to see the finished piece. And that although she's drawing in the moment, a lot of it seems to really flow and work well as a composition, despite how in the moment it's made. Which really probably just goes to show that she probably, like, she kind of was describing in the videos that she was like, I just drew all the time. And she was like, I just compelled to create, which makes sense for this type of work. Which is distinctly the opposite from how I feel. I love to create, but I'm not like, God, I need to draw right this second. This is what fuels my energy for life. So it's interesting to see someone's just so obsessed with the act of drawing, and it makes sense that her work ended up looking like this. That was a big, long monologue. Sorry.
No, that's really good.
Yeah.
You bring up an interesting point, Tyler, and that was actually where I wanted to go next with this is, this idea of process over the finished piece. I think in a lot of ways for me, like when I think about certain types of creative projects, it's about the finished piece. But when I think about others, it's the process. Like when we're making this show, the process of it is much more fun to me in a way than the finished piece. Like I love trying to feed off of like the energy that you guys are putting out in the conversation. And that's why I really like the part where she talks about collaboration. And I've watched a few different interviews with her where she talks about collaborating with different people. There's a really good one where she did a collaboration with Kendrick Lamar, where he was like building beats while she was drawing. And then those drawings were projected on the ceiling when he was doing a concert. And like, I don't know, that kind of like really intense collaboration with someone where it's the two of you in a room, like learning how to work with each other. That really resonates with me. And I find that like very similar to the way that I work sometimes.
Keith Haring was the name of the artist.
Keith Haring does make very similar work to this, yeah.
But it's not like, I wouldn't say it's very similar. It's like
it was.
That's what I mean. It's the bold line drawing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I typed in Google. I was just like, Tribe Called Quest, people, graphically reduced 80s.
Charlie Harper.
Oh.
But what about you, Sean? Is it more process or finished piece for you?
Both. I know that sounds like a really cop-out answer, like, oh yeah, well everything's so great, but like I like the process. I like that freeformness, and the fact that I like that she does this kind of like, all of her art is kind of performance art in that way, and she says like, okay, well in New York, like everyone's an artist, so separating yourself is this process, and almost lost in it for a little bit. So like I like that, and she kind of separates herself from that, and it's, at first when I saw the product, I was basically like, okay, well this is just like a line drawing that you could find at IKEA on a pillowcase. But the more that I saw it, the more that I saw that she was doing like different things, and instead of just having the same reestablished patterns, and I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of cool. Like I like this. I like this like train of thought painting that still goes someplace and says something that's very like, I don't know, how would I say it? Like it's almost it. See, I'm gonna read into this way more than I probably should because I haven't seen a lot of her work, but it's like it straddles the line of like temporal and atemporal.
No, I think that's totally fair. I don't think you're reading into it.
Wait.
Fire up your Googler, Tyler. Figure out what atemporal means.
All right. Great.
Because like when she's doing it, you can tell that it's like it is like a linear process. That's the whole point of a line. That's kind of the beauty in it, I think, is this, that she's like kind of painting in this like continuous way, right? And then at the end it's done, but it doesn't end at that, and like the way that a performance does, and the way that she actually does her work. You know what I mean? Like when you go to a play, there's a beginning and an end, and at the end it's done. Like it kind of, that's it. You go to a movie, it just ends. Like you can watch it again, but it kind of stops. Whereas like painting almost has like an atemporal thing to it a little bit, especially, or maybe like graphic arts almost have an atemporality about them because they continue to move forward. They continue to exist and have meaning and value outside of the particular period that they were made, like the particular frame.
So talking about this, the performative aspect of it, I think we are kind of like in an interesting tension with that too, where when we first started doing this show, we were doing it as a sort of performance. It was live in front of an audience on the internet. And now it's still like, there's still an audience that we're performing in front of, but it's much more, structured and edited, and we can go back and fix something if we say it wrong or whatever. And I'm curious, like, when you think about your process and coming into something like this, do you view it as a performance, or do you view it more as like creating a work that then gets published and sent out to the people?
I don't know why it can't be both.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Tyler here and say I know it is both. For me, it is personally both. Like, not only do I prepare this, but I also have like the the person that I am on here is kind of a character that I've
true?
like cultivated over this series. Yes, no, it yeah.
Is this an alternative lifestyle podcast?
Oh my god, shut up.
Is this where we talk? Or is this where one of us gets
Possessed by a
killed
demon.
and buried? Yeah, it gets possessed by a demon.
God, I'm starting Sugar Pine 7 from the beginning right now, and it's a roller coaster.
You can't stop. You can't stop. Once you start, you're like, I gotta keep watching.
Anyway, no, you bring up an interesting point there, Sean. Do you think that she's like drawing in a character? Is it possible to draw in a character?
Yeah, why not? I know that sounds like a cop-out answer. Like, oh, can cats wear shoes? Yeah, of course cats can wear shoes. Yes, of course you can draw in a character. I think that's partially what's like so convincing about acting, right? Like when you see somebody who is able to almost wear somebody else's skin to a certain respect, you're like impressed by that. You're kind of like captured by that. So yeah, I think that she totally can. I don't think that takes anything away from her art either.
Well, I mean, I would say that for I guess within the spectrum of we call like physical art or like art, you know, that you see, like you don't see people really, and they sometimes make a persona, but I mean, like Ziggy Stardust is like that except for songs. So I mean, and he performed as that character, or maybe he was that character, or I don't know. I'm not up to date on my David Bowie lore. But I mean, that seems entirely possible that an artist that is so performance based would in some ways have a character. It seems fine to me.
Yeah, I can see how like doing it in a character in some ways, like even if it's a little bit subconscious, makes it easier both on the artist and on the audience of it being like kind of a consistent product.
Right.
I do think that some people might read that as disingenuous because there is like you can watch some of these videos and like think about her as like, you know, this pseudo motivational speaker type of thing who also like does some art. But I just feel like it goes deeper than that. And I think part of that too is what we alluded to earlier about this idea of, you know, when did somebody tell you that you couldn't draw? Like everyone can draw. And I think that message is so resonant that you kind of have to forgive like the calculated parts of what she does.
I mean, Mark Hoppus insists he's 16 years old for the last 20 years.
I don't think it's even like you have to forgive that. Like,
I don't think you're right. I don't think there's anything to forgive. I think that's just a way to get yourself interested in your work, or like in a way to make yourself able to consistently produce work within a body that's consistent, you know. Like if you kind of picture yourself as a certain way and you get to that place whenever you create, I mean.
And I think that David Bowie or Ziggy Stardust brings up a good example of how this kind of persona has like permeated music in a lot of ways. That like this isn't a new concept, that even people that I really admire in music have done this for a very long time, or I have known them as this, like the White Stripes. Concept band to the core, like character band to the core, that this husband and wife were actually brother and sister who wore red and white all the time and like tried to write like really simplistic songs, as simple as they could in some respects, like to see how much they could get away with not doing, you know, like, and you think to yourself, like, Jack White himself has put out some good albums since like the project that was the White Stripes has disbanded. But I mean, like, I think that you'll always kind of think about him in terms of the White Stripes. Same way with like Ziggy Stardust, or like think about people that just have like, what is it? Like Bono. Like, Taylor, you probably know Bono's real name.
I don't actually.
Oh, you don't? All right. But I mean, that's what I mean. Like, everybody in U2 has, like, you know, what is it called when you have, like,
That's not his real name.
Like a nickname.
A pseudonym?
No, it's not his real name.
That's so upsetting.
Or, like, Sting.
What a stupid name to choose on purpose. At least the Edge is like, ooh.
But no, you bring up an interesting point. I guess I had never really, like, considered Bono as an example of that, of like, Bono is such a character in a way. Like,
well, I mean, Bono is clearly true to himself in writing the music that he wants to write. But this whole idea that he was like, that there was this person who was who is Bono. You know what I mean? Like, Bono didn't have a childhood. Bono sprung from a rock split open, and Bono came forward, and like he had all these feelings and deep, passionate lyrics about things. You know, like, and we see this all the time. And the funny thing is, I feel like it can go two ways too. Like, I feel like on the other end of the spectrum, where everybody kind of characterizes you as like a character, is Andy Warhol, where it's not that you were something, it's that everyone characterizes you as this, like, everyone knows you, right? Versus you telling everybody who you are.
yeah, that's interesting.
You know, like, everyone knows Tyler, but Tyler tells everybody who he is through his graphic design, you know? No, that wasn't a good example. Charlie Harper. I know I've said this a lot, but like, Tyler's largest influence, whether he wants to believe it or not, is Charlie Harper.
You're right. Graphic production is one of my favorite things.
If you haven't watched Tyler's 8-hour series of continual shot paintings of him reproducing Charlie Harper's birds with like actual birds, it is amazing. It defines art. If you go on Wikipedia right now, look up art, you will see Tyler Reed, Charlie Harper bird. I mean, it is the craziest thing. I watched this man literally put on wings, cut them down to look like Charlie Harper bird wings, go collect birds with the bird wings, and then teach the birds to paint in 8 hours in a continuous shot.
Now, I know what you're all thinking out there. Aren't I a animal rights activist? Wouldn't I, frown upon the clipping of an animal's wings for the sake of art? Well, you're right. I have a lot of skeletons in my closet that I'm not very happy about. So I really hope that someday the world will be able to forgive me. And although my work may be on the art Wikipedia page, it has a dirty past. It's not something that I could be proud of. And I really just hope that.
But Tyler, as one of the great artists of our time, Tim Gunn always says, you have to make sacrifices for fashion. And I feel like you made the appropriate sacrifice, and the art world is better for it.
But that gets to the whole point of it. Tyler didn't do that. The artist called Tyler did that.
If I really wanted to call myself something else, I probably would just choose my own name, because it's 5 letters and 2 syllables, and it's not very aesthetically pleasing when constructed in a letter form. So I think that I really missed the mark when I tried to rebrand myself.
The artist formerly known as Sneezy Panda.
Also 2-syllable.
That
5-letter words.
That was my MySpace handle for a very long time.
And your Twitter handle, lest we forget.
Well, the artist formerly known as Tyler was my handle for a very long time on MySpace. Unfortunately, that doesn't condense very well on Twitter, so.
Sorry, we just got way off the rails there.
I missed this, us. But no, so getting back to Shantell Martin, I'm curious, do you guys, I know both of you are much more visual than I am. I mean, I do some design stuff, but not nearly the level of like drawing and painting and things that you guys have done. Did you ever feel what she's talking about, where, somewhere between childhood and adulthood, you felt like you weren't artistic enough, or that you didn't have like the artist quality about you?
Hey, that's me probably once a year.
I think that's called being an artist. I think if you're a songwriter, you have what's called writer's block. If you're a writer, you have writer's block. If you have like a soul and you overthink things.
Syndrome.
If you love to eat, or you're probably it's called a diet. Like it's all these things that come up all the time. Just if you're a 45-year-old man, it's called a midlife crisis. It's just
I think you're right, Sean. I think there is this there's this unfortunate narrowing and like doubt that builds as you grow older, when you feel like you have to do certain things and you have to be a certain way. And unfortunately, art is one of the things that I feel like falls along the wayside a lot. And I know it did for me for a really long time. I remember being like a freshman and sophomore in college and feeling like, I don't do art. Like, I'm a media student. I am not an artist. I don't know how art works. Like, I appreciate art, but I have no idea how to make things. And I feel like that's such a shame that so many people feel that way. And like, I've definitely felt that way of like, you feel like making things is something that other people do, that like the gifted artist does and not the average person.
But this is a good time for us to plug your new business, which is Cat Oven Mitts. I don't know if you're in Atlanta and you're looking and your cat bakes and it's always burning its paws. My cat has that problem all the time. Well, let me tell you of a man who came up with an elegant solution. It's called Paw Prints. His name is Taylor Olmsted, and he's out there knitting these out of fine artisan quality cat oven mitts. And you're asking yourself, but my cat doesn't have a thumb. How can it pull out of there? He already thought about that. That's why you get 2 oven mitts. I shouldn't just call it a cat oven mitt. It's cat oven mitts, and they're adorable. Protect your cat's paws. Protect your cat's life. Help them become a better baker.
Yeah, do you want to discourage your cat and tell it that it's not the baking type, that baking is for other more intellectually gifted cats? No, you don't want to discourage your cat that way.
I mean, as soon as you show that pie even an ounce of attention, it's just not gonna, it's not gonna want that pie anymore. So really, you can't interfere with the cat baking process because they're fickle creators, and they will automatically disown anything that they deem is less than perfect for only themselves.
But back to Shantell Martin.
She is a really amazing artist. I know that we've been like going off on these tangents of like improv, infomercial characterizations of ourselves in this podcast, but I don't want to like in any way, shape, or form like this doesn't reflect her artistry and her process in a bad light. Like, it's actually inspiring. Honestly, I think that's why I'm honestly having such a good time with this, because like when you watch something like this, when you see somebody like this, it kind of like for me personally, it reinstates my faith in the creative process that like you can do this, I can do this. Like, I don't necessarily want to copy that style, but like what was that show on Netflix where they had all those creatives on there and they had
was it Abstract?
What was it?
The one about design?
Yes. Yeah, it was Abstract. And they had the guy on there that writes for The New Yorker. He's just a cartoonist for The New Yorker. And is that right? Is it a guy?
Yeah, it was the guy that does the front covers for The New Yorker.
Okay. And he said like every day he'll try and like, he'll do this exercise where he'll try and like make, a table and do as many things as he can think of. So like maybe it'll be a diving board. Maybe it'll be like blah, blah, blah. He'll just like kind of do this creative exercise. And I feel like when I saw that, I was also inspired. I was like, you know what? It's not that hard. Like it's not that bad. And when I see videos like this, I'm like, I could do that too. I think I've found myself ever since graduate school kind of being stuck, that I feel like I just cannot write a song. Like nothing that I make is that good. I just hate it. And I was playing guitar the other night, learning Tears for Fears, Everybody Wants to Rule the World.
Great song.
Which is all of 4 or 5 chords. And I was like, this song is so good, and it's stuck in my head literally right now as I'm like talking about it. And I think it's not that hard of a song, but it's so catchy. Like, it's such a good song. It doesn't even need that much. And it's not that hard. I just think in my head I have it, and I have this idea that like all good music is like really complicated, and like, it's just like it transcends the layman world of average people.
But it's not like that.
No, it's not at all. But these people who write good music put a lot of time into writing music. It's not like they just, slapped on a guitar and just like banged out an amazing song. Like, they probably had a lot of failures as well, unless they're Kanye West.
But with Master Course, you can. with
the Sean Evans Master Course in Acoustic Songwriting. Do you want to write sad boy songs about your exes?
Do you want to rule the world? Let me tell you the truth about everybody. They want to rule the world too. And you can with an acoustic guitar and a simple chord basics of Oasis Wonderwall. I'm Sean Evans, and I'm here to tell you how to get the girl of your dreams. I used to believe in leagues, but let me tell you about one thing. Leagues don't exist, because the wonder wall that separates you and the league that you're in is just an illusion of the mind.
Sean Hammond's Masterclass, available for $19.99.
They're illusions, Michael.
Over 100 episodes of the show, and Tyler finally made a relevant Arrested
I
Development
did it,
joke.
everyone!
Shut the podcast down.
Fuck yeah!
Yeah.
Oh, yeah! So for this week in Internet Garbage, I'm showing the SNL audition tape for Peter Gilroy. Peter was in an episode of a Sugar Pine 7 video, I guess last week. And I think it was either on the subreddit or in the comment section, someone linked this video. And I was just, and the first segment just got me. It was just, I was like, this is exactly my aesthetic. what I'm really into, and I was like, we have to talk about this.
So tell the folks, we'll link in the show notes, but tell the folks what they're getting themselves into.
All right, so I mean, I think the most important one is the best. I think most important is the very first one, which is Owen Wilson. These are all like actor, like he's doing impressions of people, but Owen Wilson doing ASMR, which is amazing. Because it feels like so it starts off with that, and then it follows into Jack Black as a waiter, which is also incredible. He also does a
mediocre at best Donald Trump.
Yeah, there's Trump. He did like a caveman Apple executive bit. And then I guess like a silent impression of Jerry Lewis.
He did a fantastic. See, honestly, I didn't realize until right then that Jack Black and Donald Trump talk the same way.
Yeah, they kind of do. His Jack Black is really good. I think you're right though, Tyler. His Owen Wilson is by far his best character. He really gets both the Owen Wilson voice and the facial expressions down really well. Because a lot of people can do the Owen Wilson voice where they're like, "Oh wow, wow, wow," but they don't get like the boyish glee that Owen Wilson has in his face all the time. And I feel like Peter Gilroy just nails that, especially the part where he's like eating the marshmallows in the microphone. He's just like so into those marshmallows. It's wonderful.
Oh my god, what a little giggle laugh right here. Giggle party read over here.
I feel like I've been making fun of Owen Wilson's voice for like most of my adult life. So it was just like, this is it. This is what I've been waiting for.
Did you ever see, while we're on this Owen Wilson related internet garbage train, did you ever see the Cabin in the Woods directed by Wes Anderson skit they did on SNL?
No.
Let me see if I can find it.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know that you had such a thing for Owen Wilson now.
It's just so perfect.
God, what a fanboy.
I don't even like Owen Wilson. I just like the caricature of Owen Wilson. He doesn't talk like this.
SNL did a horror movie trailer in the style of Wes Anderson and had Edward Norton, who's been in a bunch of Wes Anderson movies, play Owen Wilson, and it's pretty lovely. There will be a link to that in the show notes, too. You're right, though, Tyler. I feel like there has been this ongoing thing of just, like, making fun of Owen Wilson's surprised voice. It's kind of a lovely little meme.
I mean, you're right. I mean, he has to know, right?
That's a really interesting question. I don't know. I would think so. I mean, it's been going on for so long now. But he also, like, keeps playing those roles. And so it's almost like...
Someone that says, oh, wow.
Yeah, it's almost like maybe he's, like, that's just his brand now. He's the wow guy. The forever surprised guy.
Wow.
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 right, and now it's time to finish off the show like we always do with a round of shameless plugs. We'll go ahead and start with Tyler Reed. Tyler, where can the people find you and your work?
Hey everyone, you can find my design and illustration work at tylerdreed.com, and you can find me in the socials as TDR Design on Instagram and Twitter.
Sean Evans, where can the people find you?
Ooh, $2.95 between 7:20 in the morning and 7:40 in the morning.
More specifically on the internet.
Oh, they can find me at sevans8910. That's 78910. That's my Twiddle, my Twiddle handle, my Twitter handle.
That's what the cool kids are calling them now.
You won't check me out on there, but if you do, I will follow you. Probably. If you're a real human.
Sean doesn't give follows to bots. He's better than that.
Yeah. Listen, if you want to talk to me, you're not real. I know that.
If you want to find me, I'm on the socials as at TC Olmstead. You can, of course, like and follow the show. We are at Dudes Brunch. If you really like what we do here, you can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or recommend us on Overcast. That helps other people find the show. Other than that, thanks for listening, and we'll be back next week with another episode of Dudes Brunch.
Is it that time?
It's that time.
Best time to wear a striped sweater all the time.